Hi, folks. Matthew Hill at Hill and Ponton coming to you again on this. What are we on? Wednesday. Hoping to do some Q&A to get some questions that y'all have answered and hopefully help you in your VA battle here. First of all, Jeremy Hauser, buy Bitcoin. You know, that's like so old school. I was just thinking, you know, nobody buys Bitcoin anymore. Nobody writes checks. Maybe we should have like a VA coin. Buy VA coin that'll help you get the benefits or something. I don't know. All right, so let's go into other questions. We got Will Smith. How long does it take to get your rating decision after all claims had appointments completed? Not as straightforward. I guess I'd say, well, if everything went well, that should happen in a few weeks, I guess I'd say. But if you know, if something went wrong, they didn't get all the records they're supposed to, a lot of times what they have to do is end up getting more exams, or they have to get more records. But I'd like to think within a month you get a decision, but that can vary wildly just on who's making the decision and what other people like the examiner did to get the decision. All right, so sorry I can't give you a straightforward answer, but that's kind of what I'm seeing. Army George, can you use winning appeal cases to help as a nexus in your claim? Now, I'm assuming, Mr. George, Mr. Army, that you're talking about cases by other veterans. So, you know, you have a rare disease that was service connected. Excuse me, you have a rare disease that you're trying to get service connected, and this other veteran had one in a BVA decision, which you can get that are posted. Efrain, if you have that, can you throw that up? It's the BVA opinions page. Excuse me, you can search all kinds of great things in there. I'm gonna just look that up too real quick. I've got it on something, but that will show you the way. So like if you see you have a disease and that they say it's service connected in this other case because of X, you know, medical opinion, that will not win your case though. It'll show you the way to win your case, but the VA always comes back and says, no, this is not how you cannot use somebody else's information, because everybody's case is distinct from any others. And so any medical opinion you get has to be from, excuse me, specifically for your case. That's so you will never win that way. However, you will find possibly the way to win. You know, what does your expert need to say? Is there an expert actually listed there? Every once in a while, I'll get an expert's name on an opinion, which doesn't happen that often, but you better believe I'm looking that person up if I have the same case. So let me just see. I don't think I can throw this in here, but if I can, shoot. Efrain, if you can't throw that up, let me know, and I will throw that up on the BVA decisions. It's a good thing to have, a good thing to research your case on, because they write more at length about why a case should be granted or a case should be denied, and that applies for, you know, different kinds of medicine, different locations of a stressor. You name it, it would be in there. And by the way, Carol is not here today. I forgot to mention that. Lauren G, can evidence submission docket wait time be shortened, especially if I have been waiting for almost 2 years now? So I've been preaching here the last couple months, unfortunately, Lauren, that the VA came out and said, what did they say? The Board of Veterans Appeals chairman came out and said that they are spending so much energy and time, 80% of their energy and time is focused on what is going on with the legacy cases, these old cases. So the new cases, the AMA cases like you're talking about, evidence submission lane, I was told flat out they're not even looking at those. And that was very shocking to me, because I had been told prior that they want all cases not in the hearing lane, but either the evidence or the direct submission cases. So how long does that take? It's going to be quite some time, unfortunately. You know, I think there's a process for you to revert back on a supplemental claim to the regional office. I don't know that I do that 2 years in, but they're basically saying we got to clear all the docket on all these old hearing cases, which still is 100,000 cases they have from the legacy. And just to, well, I'm sorry, they have 80,000 from legacy, but last year altogether, all the cases they did was 100,000. So we're still looking a while before they're working on the cases that they say they were focusing on just a year ago. Pablo, glad you promote Combat Craig. Combat Craig's he's hard not to promote. He's a great guy. anything I get wrong here, you should probably go check out his. He's just got so much information. He is just the way he produces content is incredible. He is clearly passionate about what he does, what we do, and it's great to see that wealth of information out there. The more information you have, the better your chances are of winning. So hats off to Combat Craig. Oh, look, he's got his hats on. He's here. 3 hats on smiley faces. I'm thinking that means he's holding, I think he's holding queens, guys. So if you got kings, you can beat him. All right. See, Carol would keep me in line here. We need to make sure she comes back. All right, Sharon, what is anatomical loss of use other than limbs, eye, etc.? Other than limbs, eyes, etc. Loss of use. So anatomical would be, so the anatomical loss of use has to be a limb. You can have loss of use of an organ as well. And there are, I don't know, a myriad of organs that you can get paid for in the body. So that would be something internal, whereas the anatomical loss of use would be for your legs, arms, sight, smell, those kind of things. Willie Marshall, if granted Tdiu under sheltered work environment, will that wording be in the decision? The decision should discuss your work, yes, your workplace. It should discuss why, even if you are working, that does not constitute work. Alonzo, I know the presumptive cases for asthma is new, but what have you personally seen for veterans with positive side claims? Positive side effects, maybe? Alonzo, could you clarify that for me? I don't really want to go down some rabbit hole that you didn't ask me to. And Ephraim, if you ping me when that's there, that'd be great. CJB, hi. Do you know why supplemental claim answers take so long? I've been waiting for 3 months and 2 months in this decision step. Decision step. So that's not that long. First of all, I got to tell you, CJ, I don't know why particularly they're taking so long in your case, other than if it's developed more evidence, or maybe they found something in a CMP exam that they wanted corrected. 3 months to me wouldn't be long. 5 months, 6 months, I'd be wanting to know what's going on. Shaky, my physical CMP exam was only 15 minutes. Didn't go through my medical records. Not enough time. Called BES to see if I should redo it. Said it's fine because it's just to see if its condition got worse. Normal? Well, I could say the 15-minute thing, I hear that all the time for both service connection and increased rating. I would definitely write a letter about that. If it's a back claim, did the guy actually palpitate your back? Did he do full range of motion tests on your back? Did he check to see if you had any radiculopathy or pain tingling down your legs? That a lot of times they actually do pinpricks on the bottom of your feet to see that. That's just back. But what I'm saying is, yeah, if a guy was really thorough and he could knock all that out in 15 minutes, okay, sure. I mean, I could see there being a doctor do that. But if you don't think the doctor was thorough and you don't think they basically hit everything they should have, then I would write a statement saying, I was in there for 15 minutes. This is exactly what the doctor did. You get a copy of the CMP exam and you see what he said in there versus what he did. And you include all that information in your statement. All right, David had service-connected knee replacement, was informed 100% for 4 months. 2 months in, 0 payment at 100%. How long till they pay? That's strange. If I assume that they were already paying you because it was a service-connected knee. If it was not a service-connected knee, I have no idea. But it was a service-connected knee and you were already receiving payment through a direct deposit. That's bizarre. I mean, I'd be on the phone to VA and want to talk to whoever's in compensation. I don't have any angle on that, but I definitely would be saying what's going on here. Eric, good to see you back. What's the best way to prove a link to military service when your STRs are silent? My occupation in the military was a firefighter. So Eric, if you were a firefighter, so let me step back. There are certain occupations, certain military occupation specialties that the VA has just conceded that you could be exposed to different things, or what you were doing was really hard. There's the folks on the aircraft carriers who are on the deck, and they are exposed to high noises, high frequency noises all the time. VA just assumes they were exposed to that, okay, just because of what their job was. I've had a lot of parachuting cases, and the VA's gone back and forth on this, where they, parachuters have just rough landing after rough landing after rough landing, bad knees, bad back. They say, okay, well then that's probably what caused it. Firefighters, I don't know what you're fighting. I don't know what you're going for here, but you probably carried heavy material, heavy backpacks all the time. You probably were in uniforms, fire retardant uniforms in heat, and maybe lost a lot of, just water that way, and could have had a problem. You were exposed to fire foam, which unfortunately is a very toxic substance, and it's one that the VA can't get away from right now. And my gosh, if you were a firefighter, it's hard for them to get away even further. So with your MOS, you have, clearly guys, you always want to grab your records and see what's in them. But if your MOS, as you served, was firefighter, there's a lot to go on that. There's a lot the VA has to assume you did. If you're a desk clerk, it'd be hard to prove that you were exposed to firefighting foam if you weren't, if there wasn't something documented or you didn't have a buddy statement. Okay. Alonzo, let me just go back to you real quick. Positive side of claims means successful claims for veteran. And you were talking about, let me just see real quickly, presumptive cases for asthma. What have you seen for veterans for successful claims? So it just depends, Alonzo, where you were, what's in your records. I don't really have that much information. If you're talking about burn pits, those are cases we were winning, taking a long time, had to go to the board, had to have a really good medical opinion because the VA was just flat out denying them. So now it's presumptive. I mean, frankly, that's a great thing, but that's where we were at that point. Okay, let's see. Gatekeeper, I do Q exit exam, 0 hip, currently hip arthritis, fractured pelvis in 1990. Also requests knee and ankle not connected, said not enough evidence. I was jumping off tanks. Okay, again, so Gatekeeper, this is where I'd go back to what we just talked about from the CVA. What was your MOS? What were you doing? If you were a tanker and you had a 7 feet high or 6 or 5 feet high to get off the actual tank itself, and you were jumping regularly, well, that instance in service, what you were doing over and over again due to your job, you could say, look, this is how it was related to service. I don't know what Q exit exams 0 is, but if you not enough evidence, I think I'd try to write out a buddy statement. If you have any friends, write out a statement, and then if you have any friends from that time, you could write a buddy statement about what the routine was, how high it was, did you guys have packs on, and how often you're doing it. That would be great. Excuse me. Randy Road, does VA close supplemental claims when a prior decision on subject has already been appealed to the VBA, so Veterans and Benefit Administration? I'm thinking you're meaning BVA, Board of Veterans Appeals. So do they close supplemental claims when prior decisions on a subject is already appealed? So that's a little tricky. If you file a supplemental claim, let's say you have a back claim up at the BVA, sitting there waiting, and you file another back claim as a supplemental claim, yeah, they're not gonna let you do that. They're gonna say, hey, this is already going on up here. We don't let you do that. At some times, you're actually allowed to kind of opt back into a supplemental claim off a BVA claim. That's a little trickier. It happened during a 2-year period, what they called ramp. So I usually don't want to file supplemental claim. You could withdraw the claim at the board. Unless there are dire circumstances, I would not recommend that, because you're going to end up going through the whole process again. And then meanwhile, the time you waited for the board, you're just getting in the back of the line. All right, Carlos. Hello. Is there a VA form that I may submit in reference to my TBI claim for SMCT besides the form for aid and attendance? Thanks. Let me see if I can bring up these forms. I don't have the forms. Efrain, can you bring up the forms page? And there should be on there a DBQ, Disability Benefits Questionnaire for SMCT, okay? And that would be what a doctor would need to fill out, or even a spouse or somebody who lives with you fills out to an extent, and then there would probably be a medical professional who needs to fill some of that out as well. There's no specific form like filing a new claim as a 620 526, and then there's supplemental actual lane claim form, but that's the form you want filled out for substantive evidence. But just sending in a claim, there is no claim sheet for that. Nick the Magnificent, obesity. How can I connect it to hypertension and cognitive heart failure, and the limited motion of my knees would it be secondary? Okay, so I'm trying to figure this out. So we're saying the limited range of motion of your knees is the primary. So yeah, again, we talked about this last week. Obesity itself, you're not going to get a rating for, but it's almost like a conduit that you could use to show that because your knees were so bad, you weren't moving around like you should, you're hanging out on the couch, you gained a lot of weight, and the weight gain caused the hypertension and caused the congestive heart failure. So that's what I would look to do, is you got to say, look, when my knees went bad, this is how it changed my life. And because of that, I gained weight. I became obese. And after I became obese, well, there's plenty of literature out there that doctors can use to say hypertension and heart failure are both related, caused by or, have a contributory cause of obesity. All right. Jay Carter just lost your question. Let me bring her back here. Shoot. Okay. Have been diagnosed with emphysema and sleep apnea by the VA. They deny my claim, but breathing problems and sleep disturbances are presumptive for Gulf War service. Can you tell me why? So the sleep apnea is not in and of itself presumptive. So that's you're not going to win on that angle unless you can show that the etiology, that the origin of the disease is completely unknown. The emphysema, that's a little more interesting. That's something that you might be able to get under the presumption, and the presumption is 38 CFR 3.17, 117. That's 38 CFR 3.117. That talks about the presumption there. I think you could be able to get under there. Again, the VA is going to try to attach it to some other disease, to some other origin. And if they can't do that, then you should win. Pablo, scheduler 90% at 94 point. Oh my gosh, that's ridiculous. 94.5. PTSD with TBI at 70%, but got my Tdiu, P and T. All right, so your permanent total, not 100%, but IU. Okay, should I push through to get scheduler 100% if more evidence shows aphasia with traumatic brain injury institution? All right, I think between my reading that and some of the things spelled, a lot of got made blurry there. Here's what I would say. I'm seeing more and more cases where VA is lumping together PTSD and TBI. Give a vet 70%, that looks great. Well, the problem is whatever they got to, if they got a 70%, what I'm finding is you could give that on the PTSD symptoms alone. But what they're trying to do is hide the TBI in that and say, oh, his biggest problem is mental health problem, and that's PTSD. That's not how it's supposed to be. They're supposed to rate the PTSD, and then they rate the TBI. And so if the TBI's worst problem is mental and they completely overlap, then yeah, you only get one rating. But if you have aphasia, if you have any other extreme memory problems, if you are incapable of taking care of yourself, those two ratings need to be separated. And we're seeing this again and again, where the VA is trying to hide the TBI rating inside the PTSD. And they do that because the gentleman earlier we were talking about, the SMCT, that's the special monthly compensation for TBI. They're basically trying to get vets to not see they possibly could be eligible for that. So if Carol were here, she'd answered the first question, said, file for 2 new claims or file for separation claims. I'm more reticent not to, I don't really want to get vets to file claims just to be in front of the VA when they're already getting 100%. But in your case, I would, if your TBI symptoms are bad, okay? You do not want those two lumped together if you don't have to. And that would get you to a straight 100%, if you get a separate rating. But more importantly, you could open up the door for special monthly compensation. Chris W. Having a hard time linking my sleep apnea to my PTSD, even though my psychologist says it is. VA is saying there is no substantial, yeah, I hate the VA when it comes to this. It's so ridiculous. I think I've had a couple folks on here told me that they've actually won a PTSD, sleep apnea secondary to PTSD at the regional office. Carol, I know, has won a couple there, but the mother load that we win are at the board. I mean, when I get one of those cases, I just assume I have to take it to the board of Veterans Appeals. If your doctor says that, you need a statement from them right away. Once you get that statement, you just need to resign yourself to, hey, I'm going to appeal it in there, but it's very well that this might actually have to go all the way up to the board itself. Okay. Yeah, let me just see here. Efrain, the BVA thing you pulled up, that's what I want. That's the index. He's going to post that. That's basically an index for and again, it's a great tool. Board of Veterans Appeals has an index of all of their claims. They wipe out the person's name so you can't see who they are, but it gives full decisions, and you can search each decision on anything. You just put in a word and search it, whatever you want. So I've spent many an hour doing that as far as searching diseases, searching locations. So anyway, that was something I talked about a second ago. All right, Tom Anita Wilson, if my AMA is with the judge, did it stop there because they went to legacy? If you are in AMA, you will not get back into legacy. The only way you would get back into legacy is, as a gentleman asked earlier, they had a bad back in legacy at a BVA and they filed a new claim, supplemental. Well, they don't have jurisdiction down here, supplemental, so that would go back to legacy. But once you're in AMA, forget about it. Greg Love, I'm 100% service connected for cancer. My cancer is now gone. Greg, if you'd let me know, Greg said more on that, or if that's just a statement. Okay. Liz V, question, I'm at 100% P&T, but I haven't worked in almost 2 years. Should I be applying for Tdiu or leave it alone? Again, Carol would say, why not apply for Tdiu? I would say if there is one disability that is keeping you from working, then yes, apply for Tdiu, because there's a chance that you could get up to a special monthly compensation. I'm sorry, I'm trying to read another one. So if there's a chance, if it's just a bunch of disabilities that are just acting together to keep you from working, then I would not mess with it. I mean, leave good enough alone there, because you're P&T and that's what's important. Okay, so Greg, do you have any idea what VA drops your rating to? Okay, so Greg has, so this is a really important question, Greg. With cancers in particular, and I've seen it with some other disabilities, but mostly it's cancer. Cancer has this strange black and white, okay? You have active cancer, you're treating with radiology, still not the right word, chemotherapy, or it's not radiology, but it's close. If you're treating cancer, and on one of those means, or like some kind of system-wide steroid, you're 100%, boom, no questions asked, you're 100%. But once you stop treating and they say the cancer is gone, or it's it's dormant or no longer manifesting, then they cut your rating all the way to 0. What they do a poor job of sometimes is then rating the residuals. Okay, so the regulations state that for the cancer itself, if it's active at 100, if it's not active, it's 0. Okay, so that's black and white. But most people don't go to chemotherapy and get out of cancer-free and the same person they were before they had cancer. Okay, so the one I see a lot is prostate cancer. That'll go in, get 100% for prostate, it'll stop, boom, go to 0. Well, a lot of times what'll happen is the vet will have significant residuals. They'll have to get up in the morning, in the middle of the night and pee 4 or 5 times. Okay, that's I don't know off the top of my head, but I think that's like a 30 or 40% rating right there. Or the veteran will not be able to control their bladder, not be able to hold their bladder until he can get to a bathroom, and they might have to wear pads. So if they're wearing pads, that can be up to a 60% rating. Okay, so the ratings, it's a little bit harder because you got to really focus on what the residuals are. But just because you're 0 doesn't mean you shouldn't be rated for something. We've had a lot of prostate cancer survivors who are completely in remission, don't have any active problems, we get them up to 100% through Tdiu. And we do that by showing, a lot of times we'll try to find a vocational expert who will talk about what their is, and if they're a 60% rating for having to change their pads all the time, is that really, sedentary job, is that really something they can do? If they're not right next to the bathroom, is it really something they're going to be able to get to again and again if they don't have a boss that's going to let them, get up every 10 minutes to go to the bathroom? So it's almost another way to the 100%. So yeah, you got to focus on the residuals now, Greg, and go from there. All right. Antoine just went in for a sleep apnea. Nexus letter was submitted. Sleep study results submitted. Lay statements. My ex was submitted, and that was sent up for an IMO. What is that? IMO, if you're at the board, they have independent exams. They send stuff out to, but they could have sent that out to a C&P exam, basically one of their own doctors saying, okay, he sent in all this information. We can't deny him because it's all good information. We need to develop our own. That could be what happens there. But if you're still at the regional office, make sure you apply, or excuse me, you appeal that all the way up to the board, because it sounds like you got great evidence there. All right, Liz, we talked about that one. Brian, I got denied for GERD, thought it was to do with all the Motrin I was recently found. It actually was secondary to TBI. Can I refile a secondary claim? You can refile it, yeah, and say, you need just a short statement saying, I believe this is related to my TBI, and here's why. I don't know what the why is in this situation, but give them a here's why. Okay, Oklahoma wrestling. Hey guys, I'm active duty Navy and just got diagnosed with ADHD and PTSD. Is there a disability claim for ADHD? Oh man, if you got your active claim, I don't know the answer to that one, because some diseases they call genetic, and they will not service connect for. So if it's not genetic, like a personality, they will not service connect you for a personality disorder. But if it's not a genetic disorder, then you could. Shock, got my C-file. When I was shot in California, Balboa, took an x-ray. They noted osteophyte, bone spore, post-talus. They previously denied my ankle 2 years ago. Is this enough to reopen and possibly rated? Yes, that's great evidence. And you might be able to get back to that original claim if they didn't have that evidence in there before. Brian L. We thought we just talked. It shows my entrance exam. I had flat feet. I broke a foot while I was in service. Have bad foot pain. Should I claim that secondary flat feet? You should claim that directly related to service. If it's still diagnosed as flat feet, then you say, yeah, you're flat feet, even if they were pre-service, then they actually did get, sorry, I just lost my train of thought. Then that got worse at the least. Okay, so even if it's not a different diagnosis, you can show that it got worse there. So ADHD has been considered a developmental disorder, and it's not deemed compensable. This is under 38 CFR 3.303C. That's 38 CFR 3.303C. That's the regulations talking about here. I'm just throw this in here about what can be. All right. David was told by the VA I was waiting on a decision. Shoot, David, I can't remember what your. Can't remember where you were, David. I'm sorry, David. Okay. Had service connection or knee replacement. Yes. Okay. So you had the knee replacement 100%. Unfortunately, they do have to put out a decision before they're going to pay anything. That's pretty ridiculous. I've actually seen veterans go 6 months while they're, should be receiving some kind of compensation before they actually get it, because the decision never came out. So again, I would ping the VA and say, hey, what's up with this? Where are we? I want these benefits now. Elton, I was awarded radiculopathy for all types. What does that mean? Thank you. Radiculopathy is the pain, tingling, numbness that you would feel down your arms, down your legs, feet. It goes in gradations of severity from just like a little bit of numbness or a little bit of tingling to severe burning pain to the point where it actually atrophies or basically reduces the muscle mass. So that's what that would mean. In radiculopathy, you'd get from your an injury to your spine, your lumbar spine or your cervical spine. All right, Rodney filed a 1151 claim because VA failed to diagnose me with MS for over 8 years. What are my chances? Doctors usually stick together, so I think this will be denied first round. Hard case, not going to deny it. 1151 cases are hard in general. MS cases are even more specifically harder, excuse me. because MS is usually a diagnosis of exclusion. And essentially what that means is that the doctors have tried to look at everything else, and they've tried all these tests, or they tried, hey, let's see what this looks like for a year, blah, blah, blah. And then at the end, they say, okay, well, it must be MS because it's none of these other things. So I just think it's a tough case. If they sat on their haunches and didn't do anything and you can prove that, great. You're going to need a really good doctor who can talk about what the procedure should be on how you go through examinations to say what's not causing the symptoms, and then finally what is. So I don't know, tough case. I think I've got a sinus infection today, so my memory is off, but I believe if you can show that you were within 6 years of service and you get MS, if you get the symptoms show up anywhere within those first 6 years after service, not a diagnosis, but symptoms, then it's actually related, presumptively related to your service. Louis C. had my fibromyalgia exam. We discussed my limited work history, 50 years, and she said, I'll help you, and then wrote least likely than not with no exam info. Another joke exam. I preach to the choir, Louis. I'm sorry you went through that. That is so frustrating. I know you've been going all around on this, but just sticking to this as much as you can. I hope you can. Just, shaky. Thank you. She said, yes, she said all those physical tests, range of motions with tools, then 6 years at 100%, neck, back, legs, MRIs. I'm requesting copy though. Okay, so then that was just a review. So then Shaky had an exam where he was called in, only took 15 minutes. You want to know what's up with that? If they're doing a review exam, I could see that being a lot shorter. Still really important to get everything you can, okay? And review it, make sure she didn't skip anything, make sure she didn't say anything she didn't tell you, kind of like what Louis just said, where it seemed like, oh yeah, this was positive, and then all of a sudden they write something very negative. Okay, Tony, I have verified that you, Helen Ponton, have my C file, and I provided the list of medical professionals I've seen sent to your staff. I'm wondering what's the time frame for a strategy session. Tony, I'll look into your case here and have, I don't know. Usually with C files, just depends on how long they are. Some of them are a couple hundred pages. We just had one that was 11,000 pages that took us almost 2 months, not just to index, but actually figure out what the VA did and when it did it. So, but I will look into that if we have your case. All right, David. Decision, okay, 30%. Chuck Weldon. I have a lot of difficult findings for a doctor to write a Nexus. I've had a lot of difficulty, finding a doctor to write a Nexus for my migraine secondary to my tinnitus. Do you have any suggestions? I actually have not won a case like that, David. So I don't know. I think you would need either your hearing doctor or just a general practitioner who, hopefully the person treating you for migraines, but maybe a general practitioner would be better who would know more information about a variety of things. Okay. Man, I'm sorry, guys. I just ran through a lot of these and lost my place again. All right. Let me get back up here. Okay, Lisby, I'm 100% P&T, haven't worked for 2 years and want to apply for Tdiu. Liz, I think we talked about this earlier, that if you have 100% P&T, the only reason to apply for IU would be if one disability caused that, and you had several other disabilities that combined to 60%, and then you could get you get paid more, compensated more. Otherwise, you're not getting any more benefits. With 100%, in theory, you could work if you wanted to, and they wouldn't kind of bother you. I personally don't like to be on the VA's radar if we don't have to be. If you're getting the max amount you can get, go on, live your life, not worry about going to exams or going back and forth. I think Mr. Shaky said, he had a review exam. That does happen, but it happens more frequently with those who are still in the system and still have active claims. Darren, I submitted a FOIA request in July for my C file, still haven't received them. I have since been denied for increase of mental health disability, currently at 50%. Should I do a higher level review or wait for C file? Do the higher level review. Maybe they'll see that they screwed up, but meanwhile, once you get C file, you can move forward there. try to keep your, if this, with what you got going on there, I would look to keep your case in motion. Okay. Tressel Johnson, I'm sure a lot of veterans have noticed that the LHI and QTC that I know of, when you have a CMP exam, you tell them something honestly, then you get the results from the exam. It's a whole bunny tail. Yeah, it's interesting. QTC has been around a long time. I'm not the biggest fan of theirs, but LHI I've just found to be extremely problematic. They're not organized. Their medical professionals are not always professional. They seem to screw up the exam enough to where it actually has to go back to them. There's someone on here who, I want to say it was Louis. Well, I won't say names, but there was somebody on here who said they had their exam go back something like 3 or 4 times, which is just insane, because all they have to do is fill out a just a box on each page where they just check boxes. So it's, I could see maybe they screwed up once, but screwed up that much is annoying. So sorry, I'm jumping on your soapbox with you there. Dooney, is there a timeline to submit student loan forgiveness once P&T is established? I asked that because I still have a few more years until I graduate, so I'd be needing student loans until graduation. My thought is always submit it sooner rather than later, and you can keep on asking for it. But I do not know if there's a timeline. Hobby, I have a CMP exam in December for degenerative disc disease in my neck. Do I have to wait for a rating from the VA to file secondary headaches? No, I have a doctor letter trying to get them tied to my neck. File it now. Gatekeeper also had a permanent file that I believe wasn't considered related to the hip issue. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. You need to put that in the file, but I think you also need to get a doctor on your side now at this point to look at those issues and say that, could that have caused the hip? Could what's going on right now, all the orthopedic issues, be related to what happened there in service? Jacques, I wrestled heavyweight. I joined mill, technically obese. I got out, I was still a big guy, obese clinically. Service connection for bilateral hip and lower extremity since obesity and military entry. Got out obese in turn. Denial for foot in my favor since I was obese in service, and every injury I had was used against me at higher lower review. Okay, I would definitely appeal that. You're obese for service. I think what happened in service, all the trauma, the pounding, the running, the whatever you were doing, pack, no pack, but just getting around, that coupled with the technical obesity, that made your symptoms worse. And I think you have an angle there to put that down there. And so but appeal that orthopedic decision. Sent Maxi, if I was medically discharged with a VA code 5276 over 10 years ago, and I just rated for that code recently, can I file a supplemental claim for earlier effective date? Yes, you can. It's pretty hard to do that once a new claim has been established. So say you're fighting for your original claim, you get a decision, no appeal, boom, it's closed. Then you refile or file a supplemental claim, you get your decision. Well, you're usually only going to be able to go back to that supplemental decision. There are exceptions in the legacy system. There were really big exceptions. Now they've really tightened that down, so it's pretty hard to do that. Okay. Dooney, why are asthma and sleep apnea rated as 1 instead of 2 separate ratings? They would be rated as 1 if the only symptoms they had overlapped completely. Okay. So if all you have are breathing issues that you can't separate out, then they are going to be rated as 1. If there are conditions in the asthma that are not listed in the sinus code, the sinus code, but the sleep apnea code, then you should be able to get 2 different ratings. I had that up, and I can always throw that back up. Let's see here are how they do the ratings. So check that out, find yours, and see if you can find symptoms that you have that could be separated out. Ryan K, happy Marine Corps birthday and Veterans Day. Well, I didn't know it was a Marine Corps birthday. I've got to work with the Marine. I have to call and harass him after this. I currently have, that's Kerry Baker. I think some of you all seen, he arrests me when we do these together. I currently have 0% rating for chronic nosebleed. I filed for increase and got my C&P done a month ago. How likely will I get 10%? Well, I mean, there's, first of all, let's talk about, if you meet the 10% requirement, and I don't know what that is for a nosebleed, but if you meet that and you showed it to them, and how I would show that to them is, through statements from you, how often you have them, statements from people who live with you showing, how often you have them, then you should get it. The other part of that deal is working with VA adjudicators, which can be difficult, and they deny stuff that makes no sense, no rhyme or reason as to why or when. So if you have that first part, meeting that 10% rating, and you get denied, don't stop there. Keep going, okay? Sam, what's the best way to service connect hypertension, kidney disease, since they are not burn pit golf exposure presumptives yet? That's good, Sam. You're going to need an expert on this. I don't know the chemistry of this very well, but I did a pretty in-depth study. I think I just mentioned Kerry Baker earlier. He and I have been researching this. He's found a lot of interesting chemical relations from what was produced by burn pits as to what was produced by Agent Orange. Chemicals, the toxins are very similar. Most people don't, hypertension and kidney disease are not presumptive for Agent Orange either, but they are cases you can win with a good expert. So all that to say, you would need an expert who can see these are the chemicals that were emitted from the burn pit, and this is how it could cause hypertension or could cause kidney disease. If you're dealing with both of those, it's worthwhile finding somebody, because unfortunately those diseases don't necessarily get better. Bobby Bird. I recently got denied for knee pain and tinnitus. Should I file for a higher level review phone interview or request a written one? We've gone back and forth on this. If you do a written higher level review, you will get your answer within like 3 weeks. If you do one on the phone, it could take 6 weeks, but they will schedule you within the next 2 weeks. I talk to them when I feel like the person below just totally blew it on looking at one specific piece of, or any specific piece of information. Say, hey, look, they did not read this evidence, or they interpreted the C&P exam this way, but if you read it, it actually says this. So if you have something that you want to point out, I'd rather do it on the phone. If you're just like, hey, I want you to review this, then do the written, because that'll be done quicker. Bobby Bird recently got denied for, sorry, Barbie, just read that. Joe, I filed for higher level review for sleep apnea. It was denied. Now it says a judge will make a final decision. How long does that take? Higher level review for sleep apnea. I don't know what happened there. You had to have filed an appeal, notice disagreement there, to get it to a judge. So that depends on what you asked for. If you asked for hearing, we're talking years, 5 years. If you ask for evidence lane, I'm hoping that we're talking only a couple of years. Don't hold me to that. If you ask for direct review lane, that's probably 2 years as well, but that's a little more definite. So it just depends on what you ask for. Jeremy reached 100% P&T a few weeks ago. PTSD went to 100% and got presumptive disability for chronic sinusitis and rhinitis. Thank you all for the help in these live sessions. I'm glad to hear that, Jeremy. And again, that's all of us here asking questions, giving answers. So that's great to hear. Love hearing people make the VA pay and you getting the benefits you deserve. Tom and Anita Wilson. What I mean is, with them only working on legacy, has my case with the judge just stopped for further notice? Your case, oh shoot, Tom, let me just see if your case was, I think, in the evidence lane. Your case is in the evidence lane. What I was told is that those cases are basically the redheaded stepchild. I actually got to speak to the chairman of the board, and I expressed my displeasure in that, because we had been told a year ago that those cases actually were going to be the ones that went forward the fastest. That's not happening. So your case probably is parked, I'd say, at least for, let's call it at least another year. So I guess I'll say this. I was also told that they're looking to hire 35 to 40 new judges at the board. Those people will all be working on new cases, the AMA cases. So that's great. How long till when they get them up? I have no idea. So anyway, I know that's probably not what you wanted to hear. Okay, the dad genius, diagnosed with kidney stage 2, service connection for hypertension. Can I file kidney stage cancer? Yes, hypertension definitely either causes it or is a major contributing factor. Brian L., my TBI is really starting to affect my job. If I lose my job, how soon can I apply for Tdiu? How long does it take to be awarded? So I would apply now, and I would apply for an increased rating for your TBI. TBI to me is the most complex disability to rate. And if you ever looked at a full review of one of their C&P exams, or in what I posted there, the ratings, man, I am awful with words today. How they rate disabilities, you'll see that it is so complex. So even if you have service-connected TBI, you're working, but the work's kind of getting to the point where you might have to stop, I'd file now, get the claim in the system, get them to review how, from a global standpoint, the TBI is affecting you. Is it mental? Is it memory? Is it physical problems? Is it inability to basically be around others? There's so many different, and is it central nervous system? I mean, there's so many different ways that can affect you. They should be reviewing that now. And if it comes down to you can't work, well, you've got a claim in the system. And once you can't work, you submit that VA form 21-8940, and then they can look at that from there. But you will already have something in the system going. Will it affect it if I have to quit? Yeah. So yeah, just get that in the system. Lucy, are you taking new cases yet? So what we've been doing, we had an attorney who's leaving our office, and we have a lot of cases to try to kind of, reorder, have different attorneys pick up, and it's really difficult to jump into somebody's case when it's been there for 4 years to really kind of understand it. I mean, when I take a case, I've had cases that have gone 12, 13, 14 years, but if I take it from the beginning, I'm building that case with the veteran. And I know that might sound strange, but jumping back in retro, as we found, is just a lot harder. That said, so we're not taking as many cases. We still take some right now, but it's very few. What I have done is I've lined up, I've kind of been doing this over the years because we could only take so many cases, but I've lined up quite a few law firms where I know the attorneys personally, where I've seen their work, where I know what they do. And so what I try to do now is just to refer those out. It seems to work out better that when the attorney knows it's coming from me, they know that I've actually looked at some of the documentation. It's not just someone off the street. I feel good about sending it to those folks instead of just sending it to some random person. So that's where we are. I don't know how long we'll be here as far as, being able to take a lot of cases. We were short staffed before this, and now it's a little exacerbated. So anyway, sorry, not a succinct answer there. Highway, I applied for tinnitus. I have hearing aids from VA. I've been diagnosed with tinnitus, and it's in my VA records. Would they send me to a civilian hearing doctor? Doesn't that make sense? Once you start talking about making sense here, you need to ask that to Combat Craig, see what he thinks about VA and making sense. But I would rather go to a civilian doctor if that's what you're saying. Why would they send me? Because hopefully that doctor is a little better. But a lot of times what they're doing now is they're outsourcing their work because they have so much that's going on at Veterans Health Administration, or there's not a clinic close enough to you to where they can give you the care you need immediately. So I don't know. That's what I'd say. Dedication 666. Is there an office number to contact you or your representative? Me or your representative? Well, I don't have a representative. I could probably use one, but I don't have one. Our office is 386. I'm gonna have to 257-2100. That's 386-257-2100. FRA's going to probably throw a number in there and said, no, Matt, we lost that number about 8 years ago. So if he gives you a number, take that one. Gary, filed a claim for spinal stenosis and cervical spondylosis. By the time it reached the VA, it was changed to Oh my gosh, you're killing me here. I hate orthopedic names. Osteophyte of the back. This is so wrong. Was told that I needed to file a new claim for it. Oh, no. If you've got a claim in the system for your back, for the same physical area of what's going on, you don't file. Forget that. That's them trying to, that's like the 3-shell Monty. You know, we're going to deny you for this, or we're going to make you refile here. No. If you filed a claim for your back, you as an individual, you are not competent to say exactly what it is, okay? So even if you say exactly what it is, even if you say it's spondylosis and it's not, but it's still your neck and it's still causing problems, they got to handle that. So you appeal that crap. If that's some veteran service officer telling you that stuff, Clemens is the name of the case, where basically the CADC came out and said, a veteran, you cannot limit the veteran to what he said the disability was, because the disability he's trying to describe is the area. It's not the diagnostic code or the specific medical terminology itself, because the veteran didn't go to medical school. That one really makes me mad. So sorry, Gary, but definitely keep going forward, because you don't want to deal with these idiots anymore, and say, okay, fine, deny me, and I'll appeal from here. Oklahoma Wrestling. Any advice for me that is planning to get out in 2023? I've been diagnosed with migraines, PTSD, ADHD, depression, anxiety, and hypothyroidism in Hashimoto's. Really appreciate your advice. Wow. So I would file all these before you get out. I would also be making sure that anytime you see a doc, anytime you go to a clinic, you talk about how each one of those are affecting. You might not be going to the doc for that. You might have some kind of sinus infection, but you say, hey, look, doc, my PTSD is better today, or man, I couldn't get out of bed because of my depression days. Just something, just get that in the record, okay? Sleeping issues, yeah, so just make sure all that's documented. Keith, service connected since 1989 at 0%. In 99, VA prescribed an inhaler. 2000, allergies, meds. 2001, requested a rate increase. Does missing the exam automatically deny your claim? Sufficient information was in my records. Yes, you have to go to the exam. That's a rule that really stinks, because you have to go to the exam even if you hand in a full packet to them saying, here's what this is, rate this. Can they grant it without sending you to exam? Yes. But if they deny it due to no exam, that's something, unless you directly appeal it, that's within their right. NK, I am Tdiu since at 84% service connected. Should I pursue 100%? Should I also pursue Chapter 31? My doctor will sign off on it, or wait till I'm 100% service connected? Okay, definitely pursue the permanent total angle, Chapter 31, okay, because the benefits you get in addition just to the monetary compensation are totally worth it. So you need to do that. As far as 100%, I mean, if you feel like you have something that's going to get you there, realize with the way the VA rates, if you got a 50% rating right now, that would still only get you up to like 91 or 92%. So if you got an additional rating for 50%, it's just really hard to do. If you have a doc who's willing to sign off on the permanent total, I would focus on that, because that'll get you wouldn't get any more benefits for 100% permanent total than you'd get for Tdiu permanent total. Old Sergeant, I am service connected for my right knee, stability post multiple failed surgeries. I have recently developed left knee pain, diagnosed arthritis. How easy it is to service connect the left knee to the right knee. I mean, I think you and I can, this is a problem, right? This doesn't require any like major medical degree or higher level knowledge. If you are basically sheltering one knee with the other, basically putting all the weight you can on your good knee because your bad knee can't take it, after a while, that's going to wear on you. So how easy is it? I can't speak to that. Should you file a claim? You most definitely should. Okay. Try to talk to your doc about getting an opinion, but that's a pretty clear case to me. And that, it's one-on-one. One's compensating for the other, and how long can that good one compensate for the bad one? Dooney, thank you for doing this. It's been very educational. Thank you, Dooney. Thank you for tuning in. Bill Bizzo, I am 76 with advanced cirrhosis. Will my claim have any priority in the processing? Yes, if you are at the Board of Veterans Appeals. If you are at the regional office, it is only, I think you have to be 85. Okay, so for age-wise, 76. Now, if you have a doc saying that, hey, this is terminal, this is not getting better, and we don't know how, we only think you have a short term to live. If you can get a letter from a doctor, then you can advance it that way. Sorry to hear that. Okay, Tom Marine vet filed right knee secondary to left. Okay, yeah, he's probably way ahead of me on telling you that. Scott M, will the DBQ form from therapists be good for appeal at higher level rating for PTSD? She told me Nexus had to be done by VA for mental health. For therapists, this is outside. The regional office will still send you to a CMP exam most likely. Is yours still good? Yeah, but you're probably gonna have to go to the board if the CMP comes back and is negative. Airman F18, hi sir, I have SMC S1 added. Am I allowed to go out and go somewhere? SMCS means housebound with a family member. So it depends on why they gave that to you. If they gave that to you because you had a disability questionnaire filled out saying you can't leave the house, you can only go get groceries, you can only go do very small things, I'm gonna assume that. So if you are, if you're only going to the doctor, if you're only going to the store, then yes, you can go out, but they have to be of the utmost necessary things. Now, if you have 100% or IU rating for one disability and another group of disabilities that combine to 60%, well, that is also SMCS, and they call it housebound. In that situation, you can go wherever you want because that's not technically housebound. That's just the math, how that adds up. So if you're in the first scenario where you go, going to the bar, going out to a ball game, can't really do any of that stuff. But if you go to some place that's necessary, then yes, you can. Okay, Anthony. Okay, I'm getting short notice here, so we're gonna about 10 more minutes, guys. Anthony, I have diabetes, which I am service connected for at the time. I also have filed for hypertension, was denied. Should I file secondary? They should have considered it based secondary to diabetes. If you have an open claim, don't file a new claim. Either appeal it, or you could file a supplemental claim with new evidence saying, and you go look at Google and say, hey, look, this medical journal says that PTSD, or excuse me, hypertension can be secondary to diabetes. Superlife, 11 Superlife. How can I find out if my disability is static? Also, TBI and PTSD be treated separately. Okay, so first question, if you go on what's called your code sheet, which is the sheet that's all the way in the back of your rating decision, they typically do, frankly, they never send this out anymore. You should be able to get it online. It'll show everything you've ever applied for, what is service connected, what is not, the history of your combined ratings, what they are. And then for each disability listed, if one is static, it'll say right next to it that it's static. Can TBI and PTSD be treated separately? I can't speak to medical treatment, but they can be treated separately in the rating code, and they should be treated separately in the rating code, meaning they parse them out. As I said earlier, the VA has been lazy or tricky in doing that, okay? Let's see. Chat now. Oh, the rating code sheet video being worked at, oh, well, that's actually helpful. We have, so the rating code sheet, we have a video that we're putting up on that because we get questions like this all the time. And the VA doesn't bother explaining to people, but kind of looking at a rating code sheet, figuring out what's there, what's not, what your ratings are. This is the first thing I look at when I get a veterans file, is I say, where it gives me the picture of where they are now, where they've come from, what they've applied for, when they got out, all kinds of different things. So it's really important to have, and it's something you get with your C file, or if you FOIA'd a full copy of your latest, gosh, why am I blanking on this? Your latest rating decision. Okay. Oh, he did correct me. See, the 800 number is there. Oh, no, I got the regular numbers right. Okay, so if y'all were asking about what the phone number is there, there's a couple different ways right there. And then the Clemens case, that goes to the Gary, I believe. The person told you that you can't have two different, since you've got a new diagnosis in your neck, well, you got to refile. Hogwash. I would submit that case if you're dealing with the veteran service officer. I would give it to him and say, hey, you might want to read this because you're disturbing veterans. All right, sorry. Lucy, I hope you're feeling better soon, and thank you for all you do. I appreciate that, Louis. I feel like a space cadet right now, so I apologize for I don't even know how many errors I've been making as far as speaking. 11 Superlife, my VSO said that I can't get a copy of my reading code sheet. Is this true? No, it is not true. So you can FOIA a little, ask Freedom of Information Act request. You can get your full C file. It'll definitely be in there, or you could do it for just the last rating decision. You can also go onto eBenefits. I don't have an eBenefits account, but I would consider going onto that, see if it has it there. Okay. But if you have a VSO, they can get it. So you can forget all that, go back to the VSO and say, okay, if you don't think I get it, that's fine. You give it to me, because they have access to it. And if they don't have access to it, I'm a little concerned about what they're doing, because if I did not have that, as an advocate, being able to see everything that's been claimed, the whole history of veterans, basically interactions with the VA, I'd be a little worried about what they're doing. And I'm not, I've worked with lots of VSOs, and I know they know what this is and how to get it. David Goldman, I was denied for combat PTSD. CMP examiner argued that I was not a Navy combat veteran. I served in Desert Storm. I received tax-free pay and hazardous duty pay. What is considered a combat veteran? Okay, so for ships, this is interesting. If the ship itself, and I don't know if it's in the log, deck logs, or where you could find this, other than if the ship receives some kind of awards like meritorious or combat awards, if the ship was in combat, you were in combat. Okay, so that's the easiest one. Otherwise, what we want to do is show that you're in the combat theater and you had fear of hostile military action, enemy actions against you. That would be, I don't have it in front of me, the code for PTSD is 38 CFR 3.304F. And that talks about the different ways to get the rating. I'm just gonna pull this up real quick, make sure it is F. And that'll, talks about what that is and what that constitutes. Yeah, so they say, well, it's long, but look that up, 38 CFR 3.304F, and that talks about the different kinds of ways to service connect PTSD. So, you need to show that you were within the, waters of, I don't know if you're in the waters of Kuwait, I guess, but just show that it was a combat zone. That's would be what you want to look for there. Okay, let's see, I got time for a few more. Let's see if I can be fast on speed round. Victor, I would like to claim depression, but I'm in a group of counseling for PTSD. Would it be a problem for filing for depression? No, file it. Sergio, I have 3 concussions in my line and in my service medical records and Parkinson's. What paperwork should I include in my claim? If you have that paperwork, send it. If you don't, just say when you submit your claim, this is in my service records. If you have the dates, that's even better. But they have a duty to go get those records for you. Let's see, Johnny, thanks for the info and podcast, great resource. Thank you, Johnny. I appreciate that. We love what we do here. Vinny G, is rhinitis and sinusitis pyramiding, or will the VA have separate ratings? Will they have a combined rating? You need to look in the rating codes, which is linked to up here. Again, you got to parse out the different problems. Those two are pretty darn similar, okay? They affect the same kind of region, but I don't know the codes off the back of my hand, so there could be a way to show, well, no, my rhinitis causes, congestion, my sinusitis causes temporal inflammation. I don't know. If you can point to 2 different things, then you would get 2 different ratings. All right, let's see. Tango Delta 73. Hi, I got 93% for one of my new ratings, was 10%.
Hi, and welcome to Hill and Ponton's VA Disability.
Still can appeal. I get migraines a couple times a month that I need to sleep off for a few hours. Should I appeal for the higher rating? Okay, 10% for. Yes, you do. You should be getting at least a 30% rating. And the key thing you say here, you need to use the word prostrate. Okay, so prostrate basically means you're flat. It kind of bothers me they make people use that term, but otherwise you got to say what's happening here is that if you need to sleep, you had to be prostrate. Okay, so you need to say, when I have these, forget prostrate, I just have to sleep. I have to lay down for X number of hours. Okay, so the second question, so that should get you to 30%. The next question is, does it interfere with your work? Okay, that's how you get the 50% rating, is that you have these migraines long enough and frequent enough that it interferes your ability to work on a consistent basis. If that's the case, they should bump you up to 50. If you're not working because of these, then you need to file for unemployability. So it's kind of a ladder effect, but you should at least be at 30 from what you just read there. Ernesto's Coffee and Food Adventures. So you're sending me some coffee, right? Is that what's going on here? Is alopecia for stress a rating. I started getting it during my active time and still have it. So is it for stress a rating? It would be a separate rating, okay? And that rating would be, gosh, I don't know. The rating is not under the, a hair loss rating is not under the PTSD or mental health code. So if you could show that it's a separate rating, you have an actual diagnosis of it, then you should be able to get a secondary rating for that. Even so, stress, yes, your service connected for, and then boom, that caused it. So that's how I'd go. That's interesting. I've not seen that case before. Well, it's either, let me see. Well, it's either you guys or CC&K, I guess. Not sure the reference, Louis, but they're great guys over at CCK. Founding partner Robert Chisholm is a good friend of mine, and they do good work, and we collaborate with them all the time. So, you know, we'd love to handle all the cases we get, but you know, we unfortunately can't. Okay, Airman F-18, I have 100% for heart, 60 to PTSD, 50. Okay, so you got a lot. That's what got me. Okay, so then yes, so this is back to the SMCS question, which the VA says is housebound. In some situations, it is housebound where a veteran cannot leave his house. In other situations, like Airman's here, he has so many ratings that they actually bump him up to that special monthly compensation code. So you, sir, can go to the bar, to the baseball game, to, you know, ride your bikes with the kids, whatever the hell you want. They can't touch that. Okay, so I'm glad to see that. Well, I'm not glad to see that you have that significant for all your ratings, but housebound thing just can be really tricky on people. So good to hear that. All right, radio, Willie, hit that like button. That'd be great, guys. I'd appreciate that. And more importantly, the like button and the button the notification button that lets you know when I jump on, because as longtime folks here would know, I'm not always consistent. All right, let's go 3 more minutes. Radio killer, everyone assigned to the Gulf War area received tax-free and has paid. Okay. So you were still in a war zone there. So I think you could still say, you could use the VA's PTSD reg. It's F-4 that talks about, you know, were you near the enemy? Did you fear from the enemy? If you're in a war zone, that's very plausible. Annette Baker, is MST and PTSD rated separately? No, there is no, MST is not a rating. MST is a trauma which leads to PTSD. So PTSD is the disability. MST is the, you know, reason why. Okay, so we talk about combat PTSD. Well, this would be this would be MST PTSD. So not separate. You'd still be rated under one code, and that's the mental health code. Justin, does narcolepsy qualify for individual unemployability? If narcolepsy prevents you from doing your job or keeping a job, it would, yes. Wilburn, exiting the military, I got service connected for insomnia, but not headaches. 7 years after, I'm getting rated for headaches as secondary to insomnia. Should I fight to get back to 2014? You had to have filed a claim back then. Or that had to have been in your records, meaning so you went in for an insomnia exam and the guy said, oh, by the way, he has headaches secondary to this, then you could go back. Otherwise, it's really, really hard to go back there. Marlon de la Rosa, can burn pits be connected to, yes, combat related special monthly? Yes, definitely. All-American veteran AAV. BVA saying that my claim originated in 2014. My VSO and I have documentation going back to 2010. And the RO in Phoenix state that the past that they lost my file for 2 years. Can you, when you were back to 10? Yes, you can. I would research this. Phoenix was notorious for shredding files. And then they got busted, and it was a pretty big scandal. I would file. I would do a Google search on this, but Phoenix Regional Office losing files or whatever that was, and see if you can find out the date. Okay, but yeah, if you have the paperwork showing, and you're saying it went to this office, and the office says, oh, we don't have it, but we have something in the form of a scandal, news reports, you should be able to win there. Will it be straightforward or easy? Probably not, but with that evidence, I'd definitely pursue it. Bernard, I was diagnosed with MS in 97. I have multiple conditions related to MS, which total 80%. I was denied for sinus, but recently refined how likely would a rating for sinusitis put me at 100%? Okay, so I've got a calculator on our I'm not a mathematician, and for this reason, we put a calculator on our website that you can go put in all your ratings, show you where you are. Let's say you are a straight 80%, okay? And then let's say you got a 50% rating, new rating. Well, that would actually bump you up to 90%. So to get you to where you wanted to be, I think you would probably, let's say you had 80% and then you had a 70% rating on top of that. That should get you a 15% increase. So if you can get another 70% rating, then yeah, you can get up. That'll get you up to 100%. Otherwise, MS is a devastating disease. You could always, if you're not working, apply for unemployability. That's what I would look at. All right. So last one, Gal 7129. Can you give a bit information on secondary claims? So secondary claim is just any claim that's not directly related to service. Okay. And a secondary claim could be, we've talked a lot here. We always talk a lot here about sleep apnea being secondary to PTSD. The reason why we always talk about that is because the VA denies it, even though they know it's connected. And so many folks have claims for that. Okay. So the sleep apnea did not happen in service. Service did not cause it itself, but service caused the PTSD, and therefore you have this problem. Diabetes is another interesting one. If you get diabetes because of service, you can get just a ton of different secondary disabilities because of that. Okay, so you can get neuropathy, which is the tingling in the arms, just like radiculopathy. You can get liver disease. You can get problems with your kidney. You can get heart disease. You can get hypertension. So there's all kinds of diseases that it can cause after that. Hypertension is another fascinating one. Rarely does a veteran get a hypertension claim where their rating is over 10%. But hypertension is so devastating to a body that it causes all these problems: hypertensive heart disorder, diabetes, it can cause strokes. So it's really important that you get that primary thing service connected, and then the secondary issues you get them service connected, because those are the ones that actually might put you above the rating of the base rating. So a diabetes rating of 20%. If you have neuropathy in your legs and your arms, if you have arthropathy in your, I almost got that one right, in your kidney, then you are then your rating would probably go from a 20% almost up to 100. So secondary is just anything caused by that service connected issue, and at the end of the day, those are the ones that really get veterans the ratings that they deserve. Okay. Oh, Kevin S., I will answer this for you. Do you guys handle 1151 malpractice claims? We do not. Glover Luck out of Dallas. They do handle those. If you forget that, send your claim into us, and I can actually route that over to them. But they're very good at those, and I highly recommend them. All right, folks. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time and attention and your good questions. And I apologize I wasn't all the way here today with my sinus infection, but I appreciate you bearing with me.